The council chamber floated in silent space, wide and cold, shaped like a ring of glass and metal. Stars burned slowly beyond its walls. Many races sat in their assigned places, tall and short, scaled and smooth, all watching the center platform. This was where warnings were judged. Most warnings were ignored. A small envoy stood alone at the center. Its body was thin, voice shaking but clear. Long scars crossed its arms. Those scars were old. They were not ceremonial. "We were attacked by humans," the envoy said. "We believed them weak. We were wrong." A low sound of amusement spread through the chamber. Some council members tapped claws or tails against their seats. Humans were new. Humans had few worlds. Humans did not rule space lanes or command ancient weapons. The envoy raised its head. "Do not attack them. If you do, they will hunt you forever." The laughter grew louder. Not one council elder leaned forward. "You survived, did you not?" "Yes," the envoy answered. "But survival is not victory." They followed us. Not with rage, with patience. They learned our roots, our food ships, our families. They did not stop until we begged for peace. Another elder waved a hand. "Enough. Fear makes small minds imagine big threats." The envoy was removed. The warning was recorded, then buried under layers of council decisions. Soon after, a vote was passed. A limited strike would be allowed against a human trade route. Nothing serious. Just pressure. A lesson dot far away, in human space, the trade ship Dawn Path moved quietly between stars. It carried food, tools, and people who wanted simple lives. Jayan stood on the bridge, hands resting on the rail, eyes calm. Space always made her feel small, but never afraid. The attack came without warning. Bright lines cut through darkness. The ship shook. Alarms screamed. Jayan did not scream. She gave orders. Her voice stayed steady as escape pods launched. The Dawn Path broke apart slowly, like something dying with dignity. Jayan escaped. She watched the wreckage drift while rescue signals echoed into empty space. The attackers did not stay. They had done what they came to do. When Jayan returned to human space, she was questioned, examined, and finally allowed to rest. No speeches were made. No threats were broadcast. The news did not spread fast. Humans did not rush. Juan received the report 3 days later. He worked in a quiet room deep inside a defense station. His job was not to command ships. His job was to notice patterns others missed. He read the attack logs slowly. Weapon types, signal timing, retreat vectors. This was a test, he said to himself. He did not raise his voice. He did not call for revenge. He sent one message. The message did not go to a fleet commander or a politician. It went to an archive system older than most human colonies. The system responded with a simple confirmation. Protocol accepted. Across human space, small changes began. Civilian sensors were upgraded without announcement. Trade ships altered routes just enough to look random. Old satellites that no one remembered launched new software. Nothing dramatic happened. That was the point. Jane was called to speak with a quiet woman named Hannah. Hannah wore no uniform. She smiled gently and asked careful questions. "What did you see before the attack?" Hannah asked. "Nothing," Jane replied. "That is what scared me later." Hannah nodded. "Thank you. That is enough." Jayan left the room feeling watched, not in a bad way, but in a way that made her feel protected. In the council chamber, reports came in. The strike had succeeded. One trade ship destroyed. Minimal effort. No response from humans. Some council members relaxed. "They are afraid." One said. "They are slow," said another. A third frowned. "Or they are thinking." The thought was dismissed. Weeks passed. A supply ship linked to the attackers failed to arrive at its destination. No debris was found. A navigation beacon went dark. A minor ally complained that human traders were asking strange questions about old borders and forgotten wars. Hana stood before a wide display, watching hundreds of moving points. She did not look at ships. She looked at habits. She tracked how often enemies refueled, where they rested, which systems they trusted. They repeat themselves, she said softly. Juan joined her. They always do. No order to attack was given. Instead, a small human team helped repair a station owned by a neutral race. They asked for nothing in return. Later, they were invited back. Trust was built one quiet favor at a time now in another system. An old human probe woke from dormancy and began listening again. Jane returned to space under a new contract. She did not know who protected her roots now. She only knew that pirates vanished before she ever saw them dock in the council chamber. Unease began to replace confidence. Losses were small, but they were connected. Someone pointed out that every missing ship had taken part in the attack. That is coincidence. An elder said, another whispered. Or consequence. The old envoy's warning was replayed once, late in a private meeting. No one laughed this time. Far from the council. Juan closed a file and leaned back. The hunt had not begun. Not yet. This was only preparation. Humans were not angry. They were careful. And careful hunters always move first by learning the trail. The council expected noise after the attack. They expected anger, threats, or a rushed counterstrike. None of that came. Human space stayed quiet. Trade continued. No fleets gathered at borders. To many council members, this silence felt like proof of fear. But silence can hide movement. In human space. No single command was given. No leader stood before cameras. Instead, small actions spread across many systems. Old data centers were opened. Long ignored reports were read again. Humans did not look at the attack as an insult. They treated it as information. Juan spent most of his days reading travel records older than the council itself. He studied where ships rested, how often they changed routes, and which systems were avoided without clear reason. Patterns formed slowly, like shapes in fog. They rely on habit, he said quietly. That makes them predictable. Hannah worked elsewhere, far from war rooms. She visited neutral stations and shared meals with traders who had no love for the council. She listened more than she spoke. Humans had learned long ago that trust was a better weapon than fear. Some neutral captains began sharing small details. Which fleets demanded extra fees? Which commanders broke deals? Which races took more than they gave? None of it sounded like military talk. All of it mattered. Meanwhile, small human ships appeared where they were not expected. Not warships. Repair craft. Medical transports. Survey vessels. They fixed broken shields. Treated sick crews. Updated navigation maps. In return, they asked simple questions. Who passes through here often? Who never stops long? Who acts like they own the stars? The answers built a quiet map. Jane felt the changes without understanding them. Her new trade route curved farther from known lanes. Escorts never appeared on sensors, but trouble never reached her either. Once, she noticed debris drifting ahead of her path. It looked fresh. No warning signals followed. She did not report it. She trusted that someone else already knew. In council space, problems began to stack like small stones. Fuel shipments arrived late. Communication relays glitched during jumps. One patrol fleet returned with fewer ships than it left with, and no one could explain where the missing ones had gone. There was no battle. The patrol leader insisted. They just stopped answering. An elder struck the floor with a limb. Then they deserted. But desertion did not explain why their home docks also went dark days later. The Council ordered investigations. Probes were sent. Data vanished mid-transmission. Scouts reported strange shadows near jump points, then went silent. Still, no human fleet crossed into Council space. Hana stood before a living display of light and motion. She watched enemy supply paths blink in and out. One by one, she marked them. "They think war is noise," she said to her team. "We think war is memory." Some human units acted without uniforms or flags. They used old ship designs, updated just enough to be invisible to standard scans. These units did not fight. They waited. When an enemy ship made a mistake, help never arrived. Across the galaxy, whispers began. A merchant race warned its children not to anger humans. A mining guild canceled a contract linked to the attackers. A neutral world refused counsel, protection, and quietly accepted human assistance. Instead, the Council noticed the shift too late. One member suggested peace talks. "They have not attacked us," the member argued. "Perhaps this can still be ended." Another answered, "We already attacked them." That truth settled heavily. The old envoy's warning surfaced again, passed in private between nervous aides. The words no longer sounded dramatic. They sounded accurate. In human space, a long sleeping network came fully online. It had no name used in public. It existed to connect people, not machines. Analysts, pilots, engineers, traders. Anyone who noticed something strange could leave a mark. Those marks formed trails. Juan followed one such trail to a forgotten moon near a dead star. Nothing important should have been there. Yet 3 enemy supply routes curved just enough to pass nearby. "They feel safe here," he said. That was enough. No explosion followed. No announcement. Weeks later, those routes collapsed from lack of support. Ships ran out of parts. Crews argued. Commanders blamed each other. In council halls, voices rose. "Why are we losing without battles?" One demanded, "Because they are not fighting us." Another replied softly, "They are removing us." Jayan heard similar words spoken by a dock worker on a distant station. "Humans don't push," the worker said. "They pull threads." Jayan thought of the dawn path drifting in pieces. She did not feel anger anymore. She felt something colder, something steady. Late in the cycle, the Council approved a stronger move. A show of force. A fleet large enough to scare humans into negotiation. The fleet gathered openly. Humans watched. Hana marked every ship, every captain, every escort. She added notes beside each name. Past actions, old grudges, known weaknesses. "This will end badly for them," someone said. "Yes," Hana replied, "but not quickly." As the enemy fleet moved, it felt confident. No resistance appeared. Space remained empty ahead. Behind them, however, space began to close. The hunt had not started with weapons. It had started with understanding. Now, the trail was clear, and humans were very good at following trails. The fleet moved as one shape through open space. Hundreds of ships, heavy and bright, engines burning with pride. The Council wanted to be seen. They wanted humans to feel small. Human sensors felt the fleet long before it crossed any border. No alarm spread. No crowd gathered. Information flowed to quiet rooms where people already knew what to do. Juan watched the approach on a simple display. He did not count ships. He counted gaps. "They trust their size," he said. "They will move straight." Hana nodded. "Then we will let them." Ahead of the fleet lay a region marked as empty. Old charts showed nothing there but dust and weak gravity. The Council had passed through it before without trouble. That memory made them careless. The first ship slowed for a moment, then surged forward again. Its sensors flickered. Nothing seemed wrong. Far away, Nari tightened a bolt with calm hands. She worked on a station that looked abandoned, patched and old. Inside, every system was awake. "Alignment complete," she said. The trap did not look like a trap. Gravity shifted by a hair. Not enough to break hulls. Enough to pull paths just a little offline. Ships corrected. Each correction pushed them closer to one another. Then space grew noisy, not with weapons. With confusion, navigation lights blinked. Signals overlapped. Orders crossed and returned late. The fleet tried to spread out, but their own size worked against them. No human ship appeared. A smaller council escort drifted out of formation. Its engines failed. A repair ship moved to help and lost power as well. Rescue calls stacked up. Juan watched lines tangle on his screen. "They are fixing problems we gave them," he said. "That takes time." Time was the point. Hana listened to open channels. Panic grew, then anger. Commanders blamed crews. Crews blamed machines. No one blamed humans, because no humans were there. Nari switched the system from standby to active. Old civilian tools came alive, used in careful ways. Power drains spread like cold water through pipes. Not fast, steady. A council cruiser fired a test shot into empty space. It hit nothing. The recoil nudged it closer to another ship. Shields scraped. Hulls kissed and broke. That was the first real damage. Across the region, small failures stacked into larger ones. Fuel pumps stalled. Cooling systems lagged. The fleet slowed itself with effort. Still, no human fleet arrived. Jane watched from far away, her ship tucked into a safe lane. She had been told to wait and listen. She heard fear leak into voices that once sounded proud. "They are lost," she whispered. "Not yet," said a calm voice over a secure channel. "They are learning." The council fleet tried to retreat. The path behind them no longer matched the path they took in. Gravity pulled again, just enough. The fastest ships escaped. The largest did not. Those that stayed burned fuel, fighting nothing. Hana marked names as ships fell silent. "Do not chase," she reminded her team. "Let the lesson settle." Some council captains chose to fight anyway. They fired into the dark, wasting power. Their weapons found only dust and echoes. Others powered down to save fuel. Their lights dimmed. Their calls grew quiet. Human units moved then, but not to attack. Small craft slipped close, masked and patient. They scanned hulls, copied data, learned layouts. Nari smiled faintly. "We know them now." Days passed. The council chamber filled with raised voices. Reports contradicted each other. Some said the fleet was under attack. Others said it was a natural disaster. An elder demanded proof of human aggression. There was none. Juan sent a short summary upward. It listed causes without naming intent. Environmental stress. Poor formation discipline. Overconfidence. The words hurt more than explosions. The fleet finally limped free, smaller and shaken. It had not reached human space. It had not scared anyone. Across neutral systems, the story spread fast. Humans had faced a great fleet and not shown their teeth. They had let space itself answer. A council ally broke ties that same cycle. Hana met with Mizo in a quiet room. Mizo listened and took notes. "We will need words soon," Mizo said. "But not yet." "Yes," Hana agreed. "First they must understand why words matter." Jane resumed her route. She passed the empty region where the fleet had stumbled. Space looked peaceful again. She felt watched in a good way. In a distant dock, a council captain stared at a silent ship and understood too late. They were never rushing, the captain said. Back in human space, Juan closed another file. "They think this was our strength," he said. "It was our restraint." Nari powered systems down and left the station dark once more. It returned to looking abandoned. The hunt had stepped into the open, not with claws, but with patience. And the council was finally starting to feel what it meant to be followed. Fear did not arrive in the council chamber all at once. It came in pieces. A delayed report. A missing signature. A fleet that returned smaller and quieter than before. The elders argued, but their voices lacked strength now. Pride had cracked. One council race sent a private request for talks. Not peace, information. They wanted to know what humans wanted. The answer was silence. In human space. No celebrations followed the damaged fleet. No one called it a victory. To humans, it was still unfinished business. The people involved stayed focused, moving from one task to the next. Hana reviewed lists of names and locations. "They are starting to turn on each other," she said. "Trust is failing. That happens when fear grows faster than truth," Juan replied. Across several systems, council allies argued over missing supplies. Accusations followed. Escorts were reassigned, then withdrawn. Old alliances bent under stress. Humans watched and waited. Miso stepped into her role quietly. She contacted neutral worlds first, offering stability instead of promises. "Humans do not seek control," she said simply. "We seek balance." Some believed her. Others waited to see what would happen to those who did not. Jayan docked at a station that once welcomed council patrols. The patrols were gone now. Dock workers spoke in low voices. "They don't protect," one said. "They demand." Jayan said nothing. Her ship was serviced faster than expected. No fees were raised. In a distant system, a council strike group vanished while chasing a shadow on their scanners. No weapons fire was recorded. Their last message was confusion. Hana added another mark to the map. "Do we answer their request for talks now?" Someone asked her. "No," Hannah said. "Not until they understand why they are asking." The council finally called a full emergency session. The old envoy's warning was played openly this time. No one laughed. Some lowered their heads. An elder spoke with effort. "If humans wished us destroyed, would we still be here?" Silence followed. Juan listened to the recording later. "They think survival means mercy," he said. "They still don't understand." Understanding came slowly. Human units began appearing openly, but only in neutral systems. They helped restore power grids damaged by fleeing fleets. They escorted refugees from contested zones. They did not claim territory. The message was clear without words. Those who stepped away from the council were safe. Those who did not were alone. Nari supervised the dismantling of temporary systems. "We don't need these traps anymore," she said. "They've learned to fear empty space." "Fear fades," Juan replied. "Memory lasts." A council delegation finally crossed into human-controlled space under white signal codes. They were nervous, careful, and unarmed. Mizo met them in a simple room. No banners. No raised seats. "You attacked our people," she said calmly. "We responded." "We wish to end this," the lead delegate said. "You wish to escape it," Mizo corrected. The delegation offered apologies. They offered resources. They offered borders. Mizo listened, then asked one question. "Why did you attack?" They hesitated. "Because we believed you were weak," the delegate admitted. Mizo nodded. "That belief caused this." The talks ended without agreement. News of a failed meeting spread fast. Council members blamed one another. Some resigned. Others disappeared from public view. Jane passed through another system once controlled by council forces. Human relief ships were there now, quiet and efficient. People watched them with something close to awe. "They don't shout," a local trader said. They just stay. Hannah stood alone later, reviewing the map. Fewer lights blinked now. The galaxy felt different. They will try one last move, she said. Yes, Juan agreed. Fear always tries once more. In the council chamber, a desperate plan formed. A hidden strike. A final attempt to break. Human resolve. Humans detected the planning almost at once. They did not rush to stop it. Instead, they opened their records. They prepared names, dates, and evidence. When the strike came, it failed before it began. All eyes refused passage. Supplies never arrived. The council's last hope collapsed without a fight. Mizzo sent one final message to the council. We remember, it said. Choose what you want to be remembered for. The hunt slowed, not because it was over, but because its goal was near. The council now understood the truth. Humans did not chase for revenge. They chased so no one would ever need to again. The galaxy did not end with fire. It ended with quiet. The council chamber still floated among the stars, but it felt smaller now. Seats once filled were empty. Voices that once boomed spoke carefully. Decisions took longer. No one laughed at warnings anymore. A new rule was read aloud at the start of every session. It was short. It did not name humans directly, but everyone understood it. No action against a developing race would be taken without deep review. No test strikes. No lessons taught with force. The rule existed because of memory. Human space remained modest. No borders expanded. No banners were raised. From the outside, it looked as if nothing had changed. Inside, everything had. Juan finalized the last report and sealed it. It would not be shared widely. This is not a victory record, he said to Hannah. It's a warning label. Hannah agreed. If it becomes a story of pride, it will fail. The human networks slowly returned to sleep. Listening systems stayed awake, but traps were dismantled. Patients shifted back into WATCHFULNESS.NAR. I supervised the final shutdown of a hidden station. She ran her hand along the wall before leaving. No one will ever know what this place did, she said. That's the point. Juan replied. Across former council space, changes spread. Patrol fleets grew smaller. Demand softened. Some races asked humans for guidance. Instead of protection, humans did not answer every call. They chose carefully. Mizzo met with a reduced council. Delegation one last time. The meeting room was plain. No guard stood close. We accept your terms, the delegate said. We will share records, names, everything. Mizzo nodded. Then this ends. And if someone breaks it? The delegate asked. Mizzo looked at them calmly. Then it begins again. That answer traveled farther than any fleet. Jane returned to the trade lanes she loved. The routes felt different now. Ships gave her more space. Dock masters greeted her with respect instead of suspicion. Once, a young pilot asked her if humans were dangerous. She thought for a moment. Only if you give them a reason, she said. In distant schools across the galaxy, a new lesson was added to basic history. It did not focus on weapons or battles. It focused on behavior. Humans observed. Humans remembered. Humans responded. The old envoy, scarred and tired, watched the lesson being taught on a public channel. For the first time since the war, it rested easy. The council archive was updated. The warning was no longer buried. It was placed at the beginning of a long list of recorded mistakes. Do not attack the humans. Not because they are the strongest, not because they are the loudest. But because they do not stop. Years passed. New species rose into space. They were welcomed carefully. Humans helped quietly, offering tools and advice, but never dominance. Some asked why humans stayed, so restrained. Juan answered one such question during a rare lecture. Because strength is only useful when you don't need to prove it. He said Hannah retired from active work and moved to a small station near a calm star. She watched ships pass and smiled at how orderly the lanes had become. Nari taught young engineers how to build systems that lasted instead of systems that scared. Mizo continued to speak for humans, always with the same calm tone, never threatening, never forgetting. Jane flew. The galaxy learned. And somewhere deep in council space, a final note was added beneath the warning. It was written by an unknown hand, simple and clear. They did not conquer us. They taught us. And we listened. The hunt was over. The memory remained.